Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Peace Talks. This is the series where we catch up with the bands and artists that come in to play for us at the Mars Bar in Worcester. And today I'm joined with all three of the V6 organ trio. Normally we do this with just one or two members of the band, but it's great to have you all on. So, hi, we've got Aaron on the top left as I'm looking at.
Hey.
We've got John below him, and Jamie. Hi all,
Hey.
thanks for joining us today.
Hello.
So. Let's get stuck in then. The trio. You all, I guess, all came together in Birmingham through the uni.
Sort
Mm.
of. Jono and sorry, Jono and Jamie go to the conservatoire.
Yeah.
I went to UAB, but Jamie, do you want to explain how it came about? Um,
I was actually trying to think about this like last week and I couldn't remember exactly. I think obviously you guys knew each other from before, through just like John being a couple of years my senior in the course. And you haven't graduated like last year, 2 years ago. Correct me if
yeah,
I'm wrong.
yeah, we're the same year group. I was at
Nice.
university.
Yeah. Because
Jono did.
I'm yeah, sorry. Because I'm still in my third year, well now finished third year going into fourth. But obviously I obviously knew Jono through being at the conservatoire at the same time. And those group of like sort of lads we were all mates with, and then you sort of knew them through other things, and then I got to know you through playing with you, and then I feel like we must have just got to talking.
It was
I
my recollection, at least, is that um, well, so all three of us also climb, and that's sort of how we became friends.
Ah, okay.
Um, we're down at the bouldering centre depot, but. I remember mentioning to Jamie about Hammond organ stuff, and then he happens at the conservatoire. I think there's a requirement of like maybe two or three platforms a year. Is that right, Jamie?
Yeah,
Uh,
so one per semester. A platform is essentially just a performance unmarked to prepare
yeah.
you for your final recital, which is marked. Yeah.
Um, and Jamie basically said, "Oh, Aaron, I remember you mentioning interest in doing some Hammond trio stuff. Do you want to do it for a platform?" And it was only meant to be that. And then I remember we all enjoyed it, I think. And then I said to
Yeah.
the guys, in jazz, often it's obviously there's lots of bands, but it's less common to be like, we're a band and we're going to
Mm.
play every week together and rehearse. Jazz people often just get
Mm.
together,
Yeah, yeah.
as and when. So I was like, can we do the rock band thing and like actually make a band? And like, so we've tried at least. We've all been busy recently, but certainly at the start we did like every Thursday, just meeting up and playing. It was really nice. I've always craved that for a while in the jazz world, just to grow within a band, you know.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I think that's kind of the story, at least how I remember it.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, I think so. You performed at Cherry Reds last week, and you
Yeah,
mentioned that was your first proper gig. Is that?
yeah,
Because I think you did the you got a video clip of the playing at the East Side Jazz Club as
yeah.
the trio.
That
So
was that was
uh,
during for the platform.
yeah,
Yeah, that was my first platform. I do actually remember it was you, Aaron, like had jokingly mentioned we'd spoken about you just
Yeah,
mentioned your interest of the organ and you just jokingly mentioned, oh yeah, we need to make it a thing. We were both kind of like, yeah, yeah, sure. And then I realized I had performance platforms. I was like, oh my God, I can actually like we
yeah,
can
yeah.
actually try and make it a thing. But yeah, those first videos were from my first platform, which was our first sort of public performance, so to
mm,
speak. But I feel like we had one performance in January, but it was more a background thing. But it was the first sort of gig we did. But then Cherries was like the first like advertised,
People are
like
coming
we are
paying to
a
see us.
yeah,
performance that was the first gig that we
Yeah,
actually have played as a band.
there you go. So now you know what you're doing. You can come to the Mars Bar.
Yeah. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Try a run
Fantastic.
over.
So because I think I'm just trying to think. I think I saw you first, Aaron, possibly before the Detroit Funk Machine, because you did a thing at 1,000 Trades for the
Yeah,
I
for
think
the
was it during the Black History Month, and you did the
that's
piano.
That's right. And I think the
Yeah.
reason you came down, I saw a band. Is it Impossible Conversations? The one with
Yes, that's right.
we
Yeah.
and we ended up, I don't know, stood next to each other. I think and that was at this cool place in Digbeth. And then we were chatting, and you said, "Oh, have you got any gigs?" And I said, not expecting anything. Oh, I've got this gig at 1,000 Trays with my quintet, and Jono, who's normally in that, Tom Phillips was stepping on that,
Mm.
and then there you were in the audience with Steph. So it was,
Ah.
I was like, oh, this guy, this Dave's, he's a nice promoter, you know. So yeah, that's how we came to know each other, and then obviously you invited to Trotwood's Funk Machine down.
Yeah, because I think that was the first time I'd seen you in the band because it was Robbie Moore. Was it
Yes,
Robbie?
that's right.
He was
He
in
was a previous
yeah,
gig.
well, because I saw him a couple of times at the Tower Song
Yeah.
before we come along. So yeah, yeah, that was a cool. Was one of Jamie or Jonathan in that band as well? The one you had at 1,000 Trades, I think.
No,
Oh,
Jamie
right.
was in the audience on
Ah,
the
right,
other
okay.
side from you. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
Yeah,
yeah.
my memory of it is vague. Other than
It was
I
a rubbish
enjoyed it.
gig. They're
I get
probably
to
better.
loads of gigs.
Oh.
That's why I post them all on Instagram. I do a 30-second clip of every gig with the date and where it was. So
I like
it's
it.
only for me because I keep forgetting. Where was I on that day? That's my alibi. Cool. So yeah, it's because I was thinking because when we spoke and actually just on that point at the House of Burma, the Impossible Conversations to do an album launch there
Oh,
uh,
cool.
this week. It's coming up anyway soon. Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's
yeah,
so cool.
that was a gig that we met. Yeah, so organ, yeah, that's it, organ trio. Because I saw the quintet you were playing with there and thought that was quite a good show. But then you mentioned organ trio, and we've had just looking up on board that we've only had one organ trio in the 4 years that we've had. So
Right.
I thought, yeah,
Mm.
let's give that a go. So it was yeah, that was Wildcard in October 24. So
Mm.
Do you know who that was?
yeah, well, it's Wildcard is the band.
Oh, right.
Clement Reger, the guitarist, and he's usually with Sophie Alloway on drums and Chris Bland. The organ player sometimes is Chris Bland. I think it was I can't remember if it was Chris that came up with him in the end. But yeah, and then they do a lot of shows in London because he does the curation for Spice of Life for that program, or he was at the time, I think. And yeah, so they have various horn players and stuff come in on and guest on a lot of their shows. So yeah, that's a really cool trio. So it's cool to get them up. But yeah, so you'll be the second organ trio. It's a format that we don't get enough of. So it's
Mm.
great to have that represented. Let's talk, Jono. Let's talk to you a bit because you've been a little bit quiet there. So what's your journey been so far?
Um, well, I started off at Birmingham Conservatoire, 2021,
Hmm.
and pretty much immediately met Arran, on like my second week there. I've not been able to
Unfortunately.
shake him. Yeah, he's just sort of stuck around like a bad cold. Um, so we sort of ended up playing together through various different things, doing a lot of small band stuff together here and there. And we also play in a big band together, which is called like Story Swing. That goes around the country as well. So we spent a lot of time together, me and Aaron, and then sort of met Jamie a little bit later. Like I said, like in Conservatoire again, because he's I think like 2 years below me, despite
Yeah.
being about 20 years older than me. So
Right
But
then.
again, it probably was climbing where we all became friends, I'd say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we got closer there, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I've graduated. This is my first year out of conservatoire in the real world. Sort of doing a little bit of teaching, a little bit of gigging, just like little things like this. So yeah,
Yeah, and how are you finding it in the
I'm
the
really
real
enjoying it.
world, making it as a professional musician?
Yeah, it's good. I've definitely fallen on my feet with the students that I've got. I think a lot of people, when they say, "Oh, I do a bit of teaching," they kind of say that a bit begrudgingly. But I in some ways, I get more satisfaction out of teaching than gigging because you invest so much into like one child or whatever,
Hmm.
and then you get that like gratification at the end of like a long road. but it's similar to this sort of thing. Like Aaron says, it's nice to have a project that you've worked on for a while, as opposed to just like ringing up your mates 2 days before a gig and then, oh yeah, we'll knock this standards, it'll be fine, then we'll go to the pub afterwards. Like this is more like, oh, we've actually put some time and thought into how everything's going to sound, how everything's going to come together. So this sort of thing is really nice, and it's nice to have that in the midst of slapped together gigs,
yeah,
all over the place. So yeah.
No, it's cool. You got, like I say, you got a project that you can sort of develop and take forward. Do you do any of your own writing?
When I had to in conservatoire, I'm definitely more of a drummer than a composer.
That explains it.
Jamie's probably, out of all three of us, does the most, don't you?
Yeah, I don't do tons. I'd like to do more. Again, quite a few years ago, like I guess a bit of my background, not to go too much into it now, is just like, yeah, I am a couple of years sort of both of their senior, because I'm 25 and they're like 22, 23.
Yeah.
But I did a few years at like just a college in Edinburgh,
Right.
because I'm from sort of in between Glasgow, Edinburgh way. And then, found out about this place. But I did some writing there again through the course, but then really enjoyed it. I liked, getting on my laptop and trying to write some stuff. Back then, listening back, it's kind of a bit painful to listen to. But either way, coming into this course, there's a lot of arranging involved, and like there's like composition. And recently, I just did like a big band composition. And there's like a competition prize at the conservatoire. Say that 10 times. Yeah, that I've recently just like submitted my big band for. So I'm really getting into it. But it is a thing I've thought about is I think next year I want to get more into just like some smaller band compositions. So writing stuff for the organ trio for various other bands I might be in. But I've brought one or two things to those guys and a couple other people.
We've got like a funk setup, basically the three of us plus a bassist.
Right.
Harry Brown, who actually also deps, he's the dep for Impossible Conversations, funnily enough.
Right. Yeah.
But Jamie's brought one or two tunes of his to there, and I think they're really good. So I'm excited for, well, yeah, whether he brings stuff into the organ trio or more into that. But I think he's a composer to watch out for, is what I'd say.
I thank you.
Cool. So, where did the sort of jazz influence come from for you guys? Let's start with Jamie.
This is a question I've been trying to answer the entire time I've been here. And I think my answer is not very specific. Usually it's like, oh, people are like, oh, watch this one video and that got me into jazz. And there is one video that comes to mind, but I find jazz comes like the classic video is it's the George Duke trio with Christian McBride, and I don't know the drummer. It's a performance of them playing It's On. And it's just like, which is a tune we've actually tried to play as I think the little funk quartet we spoke about. That's like a classic. But then a lot of my just like regular listening when I was younger, I listened to loads of rock and stuff like that. Like my favorite band still nowadays is like Foo Fighters and like Queens of the Stone Age, and like their writing I always thought was different to like a lot of other rock bands people listened to at the time. There was just a lot more harmonic and melodic complexity, and I almost found the elements of like jazz that I like now in like all kinds of music. So then it just happened that like those were the things I globbed onto with those genres. But then I'm like, I come to jazz and I'm like, oh well, jazz has all those things and more. So then I knew coming and studying jazz, it's a great basis for me personally. It feels like, in my opinion, it's just a great basis for everything. I think if you know how to do jazz well, you can more easily go down like almost any route, and you'll have learned some kind of transferable skill through studying jazz. But that's kind of how I came about it, if that wasn't too convoluted.
No, that's cool. Aaron?
Again, it's I when I've been asked this before, I've fumbled the answer because I sort of just fell into it through listening and exposure, and there wasn't really one defining moment. I think all three of us probably in the age of technology and like YouTube and algorithms. a lot of my listening, similar to Jamie, and even now, is my favourite sort of stuff is like early 70s pop and Carole King and that sort of thing, and what people call sort of yacht rock these days and
Mm.
stuff.
Mm.
Obviously, that, as Jamie's already kind of articulated, has so much jazz influence, and it kind of makes sense because you imagine when they grew up, their parents and stuff were probably listening to jazz as baby boomers.
Right. Yeah.
Their
Yeah.
parents were probably, so that was their diet. Um, and equally, that was kind of my favorite stuff. So then, I guess I was just fed slowly things that influenced that. So jazz. I mean, more formally at school, there wasn't a jazz thing at all. It was an ordinary state school, so it was a grammar school, but even then, like obviously, the funding for music is always low. So jazz being a thing wasn't a thing. But there was one other boy a few years above who kind of liked it. We went to Love Supreme Jazz Festival, and that was when I started to know, oh, I really like this music, and I actively want to see more of it. I'll tell two quick stories. There was one, when I realised I liked it and I wanted to try study it further as well, I managed to spend a year at the Junior Royal Academy
Hmm.
with Gareth Lockcrane, and that was my first formal jazz education, and that was like meeting other people every Saturday who have the same musical brains and like interests as you. Because
Hmm.
at school, not many other people
Right.
even the like rock stuff or they'd mainly be listening to the modern music of the modern day. So that was really good, and that completely like then I knew I was like, oh, in the world of jazz. So that's a defining moment. But just a kind of a story that's semi-related is when I realised I was into it in the summer before university. I was like, I really want to see more jazz, but Ronnie Scott's is I have to pay for the train to get into London, and then the price is so expensive. So I applied for a job there,
Oh, cool.
and as like a just taking food and drinks in and
Yeah.
out and stuff. No, I don't know the word. Anyway, did the shift, managed to get the job, but the shifts end at like 2, 3 in the morning, so way
Yeah.
past the last train. A practicality that 18-year-old me did not think about. So, so the job.
Nor would 23-year-old you
Yeah.
either, to be honest.
So the job didn't carry on. But what's really nice is every time I go there, the manager. I did one trial shift. She still remembers me and stuff. So I was there last week at the Late Show, just seeing some friends, and the manager was like, "Oh, Aaron, how's it going?" sort of thing, and the security guard as well. So I did one trial shift there. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's such a. Anyway, I think if I'm actually going to turn this into a point, another reason I started to like jazz is the community around it and
Yeah.
the musicians around it and their attitudes towards music. And I think we're really lucky in this country to have a very friendly scene, I'd say, on the whole. So that's probably why I go to like more.
Yeah, it's really cool and among the musicians, but also among the audience as well. Because I don't play, but
Yeah,
I get out to gigs and like Steph and Justin
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's loads of people that you're meeting up at gigs all over the place.
definitely.
It's a good supportive community. So yeah,
And
cool.
when that's lost, maybe in modern society, community, it's nice that things like that exist.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, and
Gives people a lot of sense of belonging, you know.
that's really the sort of focal point around music spoken here and it's come back into a room where there's loads of people.
Yes, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah. Because
sometimes loads of people, sometimes a few fewer.
going to a gig is not just the music, right? It's like having a chat with your mates before
Exactly,
and
yeah.
drinking that's the whole experience, and yeah,
It's something we've forgotten how to do, I think.
yeah,
Getting together over a beer and a bit of music
yeah.
and working out what life's really about. I'll let you into a little secret about your Ronnie Scott story as well, because
Oh yeah,
when I was looking at starting up music spoken here, I got no experience of anything. Um,
yeah.
and I did the same. I applied for a job for the same sort of job at Ronnie
Really?
Scott's. I thought, yeah. And I spoken to my wife about it, and I was going to potentially move down, get a flat, and just do a short period. I never heard back from them. So. And in the meantime, I got a job at at my local pub at the bar because I wanted to understand what was involved in running a venue and such like that as well. So But yeah, so I'm probably too old. I don't know, but yeah, it was a bit of a strange application coming from the West Midlands asking for a job at Ronnie Scott's. But yeah,
One thing,
I figured it's got to be the best way to find out how to run a jazz club, right?
well, and you get to see gigs for free and stuff. But one thing I'd add just to the getting jazz thing that will segue nicely into Jono, I think, is that before Jono went to conservatoire, he went through a company called Hot House. And what's nice, I'm sure Jono will explain more, but is that we both now, the teaching that you mentioned, we both teach for Hot House.
Oh,
And so
cool.
that was where Jono went through and learned about jazz, and now he's teaching. So I think that's quite a nice full circle moment.
Cool. And are you, because Aaron, you're from Berkhamsted originally, aren't you?
That's right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm a Watford man.
Really? Oh, I
I'm
was
not a
born in
million
Watford.
miles down the road
Watford
from you.
General Hospital.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. And I got my live jazz fixes every week at you know Kings Langley, the village sort of
Yeah,
between,
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So it's a pub on the high street, the Rose and Crown. And the guy Mike Holroyd used to run that in the late 80s, early 90s. And
I don't know if I've heard about. I don't know if it still runs.
the pub's still there.
Yeah, I don't know about the jazz night.
Yeah, I don't think they have live. I don't think they have
Th-
live music there. But
There's Berkhamsted Jazz, which I'm on the committee for. Um, that's at the Civic Centre, and they do
right.
a concert every month. But apart from that, there's a few others around the area, but I don't know about Kings Langley. Um,
Yeah, I think that's just it was a one-off thing with it was because the owner, well, the landlord was into sort of jazz and funk and fusion and
nice.
yeah, it was some brilliant bands down there from the early 90s, late
It's
80s.
great to have that on your doorstep.
Yeah, yeah. And Jono, are you from down that way as well? London way?
No, so I grew up in Leicester, like
Right.
Leicestershire. So like initially when I was starting music, I was a classical musician. Like most of my family as well, all classical musicians to some degree. So I played violin and viola for a bit.
Mhm.
Went through like Leicester School's music service, and then I started going to school in Derby where my dad taught, and this company Hot House. They used the school that I went to as rehearsal space, like a separate organisation, but sort of loosely tied in the school. Um, and I remember seeing that and seeing some of the guys going through there, and I sort of like, oh, I want to learn how to play drums because it's objectively cooler than playing viola. And I thought girls would probably like it more at the age of like 13.
We now have the results and nothing's changed, but
Yeah. So yeah, I picked up playing drums when I was about 12, 13, and then started playing in those bands. And Hot House, especially back then, was just churning out the most ridiculous jazz musicians you can possibly imagine. Like there was a point where like a sizable chunk of the whole Trinity Jazz course was straight from Hot House.
Okay.
And there's tons of especially drummers and trumpeters that have come through there and been very successful because essentially there'd be a ton of bands that all rehearsed each week. And then some of the older ones, the guy who runs it, John Eno, who's now Mine Aaron's boss, he'd just take out and try and get them to gig like every single weekend. So when I was like 15, 16, I was going out and playing jazz or some sort of offshoot of jazz multiple times a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I was lucky in that regard, and especially when I started playing drums, they'd put me in bands that were way too good for me, with players who were just about to go off to jazz courses like in London and Birmingham and whatever.
Yeah.
So I was playing with people who were already operating at a sort of music college standard and above when I was about to take my grade 6 on drums. So that really kind of pushed me and got me excited. Like Aaron says about the community in jazz, I remember sitting in like an orchestral section while playing viola. It's like, oh, you need to be silent. Like if you go on your phone, like it's awful. Like no jokes are allowed, and you just sit there for 2 hours and watch the clock tick by, and hate it. But then like I was in Hot House and like people are just cracking like outrageous jokes left, right, and
especially Hot
centre.
House.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and John was really big on trying to teach like not just like networking in a professional way, but how to actually properly interact with people and like have good conversations outside of music as well. So he'd always talk to me about like politics, the news, anything like that. So like I was saying about the community around jazz in particular, that really appealed to me more than anything that I've come across in classical music. So yeah,
Brilliant. So it's I think it's a fantastic foundation for you all to get on your young and tender ages. You're all younger than my son. That makes me feel really old. But yeah, I think it's really positive that there's still lots of younger people going through and studying jazz and coming out and carrying on playing as hard as it is to get the work and the gigs and such. And great to see you guys and have you on the program as well, because it's at the Mars Bar, because it's really important to me that we have a good mix and show that there's, we've had some fantastic, really established players who've been playing for 40 years, and we've got people that have only just started playing in the last few years. I think it's really important to show that whole breadth of people that are involved in it, and it's not just let's just say some jazz clubs can be a bit the same, a bit safe, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
That's what I quite like about Birmingham, actually, like studying here, because like one week you'll go and you'll see some like crazy guy from like New York or Europe or whatever, and then the next week it'll just be like one of your mates who's putting a gig on in the same in the same club on the same night in front of like the same size crowd.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really just about just demonstrating that it's all happening. It's not just the people that have been playing for years, but it's still fresh, it's still new, there's still people creating new stuff.
I think that's kind of, sorry if I can just quickly add to that. Like, I think that's crucial to the people who are starting out. Like Jono was saying about he was younger, feeling out of his depth, playing with all these great guys, but the fact he had that opportunity and that he could do that, he knew that he was like in a position to where he felt like he could. Because imagine, the places where it is all these insane musicians that are playing all the time, all the people who have some motivation wanting to start jazz are going to find it really hard because they're going to think like, how am I ever going to be that good? And when you've got people, I don't want to use bad language that's like, oh, they're not as good or something, because it's just like less experience. It's like the guys that are just coming up, still playing to the same crowds and the same venues. The people who have that sort of base level inspiration of like, this is something I want to get into. It's just far more tangible. And I feel like it's incredibly beneficial and helpful for just I suppose the functioning and the continuation of the jazz community, I suppose.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, really excited to have you guys come up and come and perform on the Mars Bar stage. That's on
Thanks for inviting us.
Thursday the 11th of June. The day after you'll be at Stourbridge and doing the or
I
you're
won't,
not on that
actually.
gig. Oh, right, okay.
Because John and I have a different gig, but
right.
I can't remember who's definitely, but
hopefully someone good.
In fact, go to that gig because it'll be a lot better.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So yeah, for anyone watching who doesn't know, Arran's the keyboardist in Detroit Rich Funk Machine that were played for us in January. I think it was in January, around that time. I can't believe it's June already, man. This year's flying by. I'll be taking my summer break shortly in July and August. But yeah, so I say safe trip up, down for you guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you on Thursday. V6 Organ Trio at the Mars Bar. Cheers, guys.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks, Dave.